Okay, so for this video, we are going to discuss another technique, okay, about the operation of vectors. All right, so this is to find a common perpendicular, or we call it as cross product or vector product of two vectors. So this is our main purpose here. Okay, so you need to know how to actually carry out the cross product or the vector product, okay, of two vectors in this video. All right, so before we start the detail, okay, so just to recall back, like previously earlier in this chapter, we actually learned dot product, right? Maybe we call it as what? Uh, Dot product, or we call it as scalar product. All right, so for dot product and scalar product, just to recall back, generally what you have is you're having vector A dot vector B. So equals to, after you carry out this operation for vector, right, then your final answer is a number. Okay, so that's why we call it as dot product, because of the symbol here is a dot, and then we call it scalar product because of your final answer is a scalar, is a number. All right, okay, so very similar to what we learned before. So for today, we are going to learn cross product, or we also call it as vector product. So maybe from here you can have a guess already according to what we learned before. So how to carry out a cross product? So it will be something like this. It will be something like A cross B. Okay, so the word cross product actually comes from the symbol cross. And then equals to, when you get a final answer, you'll get a vector. So your final answer should be a vector after you carry out this operation. So your vector, it can be maybe C1, C2, C3. Okay, and we get a vector as our final answer. Therefore, we also call them as vector product. All right, so this is the comparison, all right, between the dot product and cross product. Okay, but the process of carrying out the process, right, the cross product is quite different from dot product. So I'm going to show you in detail here how to go through with the cross product here. All right. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, so according to our notes, we are having vector A and vector B, and then the cross product is like this. So you can see the formula here. All right, so maybe to some of you, you'll find that the formula is very hard for you to remember. Okay, but actually you no need to purposely go and remember the formula because it is quite simple for you to know the pattern. All right, so maybe I will show you in detail here how to get all the values. All right, so let's say I'm having, to make it easier, I will take value as example. So let's say I'm having 1, 2, 3 cross. Maybe I'm having -1, 0, and 2. Okay, let's say I want to cross these two vectors. All right, so when you want to cross these two vectors, okay, generally what you need to have now is the process is like that. You will get a vector, right? Okay, so now for the first component x, you cover off the x component in the two vector, and then you just focus on the 4 remaining number here. So 2032, and you want to find the determinant. I don't know whether you still remember or not about the matrix that you learned before. That's something that we call as determinant, right? So generally it is like this. You have to take the 2, multiply with 2, then you get a 4. Okay, in this direction one, you multiply them minus multiplication of this direction one. So multiply with 3, minus 3 multiplied with 0, you get a 0. So your first value should be 4 minus 0. Okay, so this is the first number that we have. Okay, Alright, so if you are looking for the second y component, you cancel off the 2 and 0. So you still have 1, -1, then 3 and 2. Okay, so for the second component, you put a negative in front. So the rules is positive, negative, positive. Alright, so the second value here for the component y, you need to put a negative. Alright, so what is the value? So you take again 1 multiply with 2, you get a 2, minus 3 multiply with -1. So minus -3, therefore you have positive 3. Okay, so this is how we get the second value here. So the second value is a bit special because of you need to put a negative in front. Alright, then after that, this is 2 and this is 0, right? Okay, so for the third value again, to get the third value, you cancel off the 3 and also the 2. Therefore, you only focus on 1, -1, 2, and 0. Okay, so again, 1 multiply with 0, you get a 0. 2 multiply with -1, so minus -2, you get a positive 2. So this is how you get the third value here. Okay, so after that, you just try to simplify everything. Okay, so you can just simplify everything. So what do you have here? That means you're having 4, -5, and also 2 as your final answer for the cross product. Okay, so this is how we carry out the cross product method, the operation. Alright, so in exam, of course, all this you no need to write it out, but this is to explain to you to make sure that you understand. Alright, so the formula here actually is a summary of all these steps. But I don't like to memorize all the formulas, so for me, usually I will just have a look for all the values, okay, the remaining values that I consider, then I just multiply and to try to find out the determinant. Alright, so that's the way that we carry out the cross product. Alright, so maybe I can try another example for you. Okay, so you can have a look for example 19. Okay, so let's say for part number 1. Alright, so for part number 1, they want you to get U cross V. Okay, so what's the U here? U is 1, -2, and 1 cross V. So V is 3, 1, and -2. So equals to, you will get a vector as your final answer. So what's your final answer here? So first of all, for the first component, you cancel off the 1 and 3. So you just focus on the remaining 4 number, which is -2, 1, 1, and -2. So -2 multiplied with -2, you get a 4, minus 1 multiplied with 1, you get a 1. Okay, so this is how we get the first number. Alright, okay, after that, for the second number, you need to cancel off, okay, the y component. So from here, you will see that you have the number which is 1, 3, 1, -2. Okay, so you need to put a negative for the y component in front. Okay, then 1 multiplied with -2, you get -2, minus 1 multiply with 3, you get a 3. Okay, so this is how you get a second number here. And after that, for the third part, you cancel off the component z value. So what you have now is you are seeing this. Okay, so you have 1, 3, -2, and 1. Alright, so to get the value, you take 1, multiply with 1, you get a 1, minus -2 multiply with 3, you get -6, right? Minus -6, or you straight away write 1 plus 6 also can. Okay, so when you carry out this, your final answer should be 4 minus 1, which is a 3. This one should be a 5, and also you get a 7. So the answer should be 3, 5, and 7. Okay, so I hope that you roughly know the process, like how we get the cross product for the two vector here. Alright, so this is what we have it for example 19 part 1. Okay, So now I want you to take your time to complete part 2 and part 3 on your own. I will just give you the final answer. Okay, so for the answer. Okay, answer for part number 2 is -3, -5, and -7. And then the answer for part 3 will be 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so these two questions, I will just leave it for you, okay, to try out. Please make sure that you know how to find out the correct answer. Okay, all right, so before I end the video, there are some small details about the cross product that I want to mention to all of you. All right, so first of all, if you look at the answer for part 1, part 2, and part 3, okay, you will realize that for U cross V and V cross U, what's the difference in the answer? So if let's say you are having U cross V or V cross U in a different sequence, then generally the answer, the magnitude of the answer is still the same, just that you will see that the sign is different. Okay, so you compare part number 1 and also part number 2 answer, you will see that the value is the same actually, just that positive become negative. They are in the opposite sign. All right, so this is some small details that you need to know. Okay, and another one is this one. When you are crossing two cross product for the two same vector, you have 0. The answer is sure confirm 0 one. Like U cross U, you also get a 0. Okay, all right, so this is some small detail. All right, then what is the meaning of the vector product? Okay, so vector product is actually saying that the vector A cross B is orthogonal or perpendicular to both A and B. All right, so just to let you have a look here. Okay, so the sign, the graph will look something like this at the diagram. Okay, so the diagram will look something like this. Okay. So if I take my example just now, so you can see that A cross B means this one. Okay, the answer A cross B. So that means this one, which is 4, -5, and 2, is perpendicular to both A and B. So it is perpendicular to A. You see 90 degree here, and it is also perpendicular to B. So that's why we call it as common perpendicular. Right, so this is vector A, which is 1, 2, 3, and then this is vector B, which is -1, 0, and 2 lah. So the answer here, 4, -5, and 2 means that it is actually perpendicular or 90 degree to both vectors. It is 90 degree to B, it is also 90 degree to A. All right, so that's the meaning of the cross product, and therefore we also call it as common perpendicular. Okay, so for now, there's another new formula that you can use to find the angle between two vectors. All right, so previously we learned we learned the dot product, right? So dot product is A multiplied with B equals to modulus A modulus B and then cos theta. So this is the formula that we used before to find out the angle between two vectors. Alright, so since we already learned the cross product now, you can try another formula that involve the cross product to find out the theta as well. So if you want to use the formula, it will be A cross B, but you need to find out the modulus, that means the magnitude, equals to modulus A modulus B sine theta. Alright, so you can compare both lah. In my opinion, right, I still feel that this one is easier because I don't need to carry out the cross product. Alright, so to me, I think dot product is easier to carry out. So for me, I will still focus on this formula. Okay, so for those who are interested in the future, maybe you can try and see that if you want to use this formula, okay, that involve the cross product, whether you get the same angle or not when you use the dot product, sorry. So both should be the same. Alright, so now you have an extra option. Okay, so you can use either one to find out the angle between two vectors. Alright, so this is what we have for the cross product part. Alright, so for this cross product part, we only use it not very often, okay, but in the next video, when you want to find out the shortest distance between the point and also the line, then we might need to use the cross product. Alright, so it is just we learn this for the future use only. Alright, so in exam they seldom ask you about this one, but again, if you are interested, you can try to use this one, okay, as the formula, okay, as the method to find out the angle between two vectors. Right.